The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Rev. And let's start the show with Commander. We got to promote you to Admiral. Admiral COVID.
Yeah, I need a promotion. Just what I'm looking for.
No money, just the title. That's it.
Go figure, right? Well, yeah. Fall River's poor with a $5 million free cash surplus.
That's right.
Well, yesterday's numbers was 182,544, which was an increase of 2,076. Total deaths is 10,329, which was an increase of 33. Bristol County has 15,919. On Friday, the mayor announced that we had the largest COVID daily increase, which was 125 new cases, which brought us up to 3,624. And sadly, we also had 2 more deaths, which put us up to 143. So Fall River, by the way, is one of the reddest of red cities and towns in Massachusetts with COVID infection. So code red alert, definitely a code red alert for everybody. And it's going to make for an interesting time. So that's for sure, especially if people don't pay attention to what they need to do to social distance, to mask, and to keep things separate. You know, sometimes people just don't pay attention.
Washing your hands.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I guess it's even affecting some of the younger people.
Actually, that's where the new cases are. The majority of new cases are in the 20 and 30-year-old age group. So that shows you that, you know, they can get infected too.
Yeah, and I think they're beginning to realize it, because yesterday I saw something in the gym. I was actually amazed. I went to the gym yesterday and I was in a locker room changing up, and this younger guy came in, and he was on the other side of the locker room because the lockers are socially distanced now. You can't use all the lockers, and they got the floor marked and stuff. But you know, I looked, I couldn't believe it. He took out a spray bottle and he was disinfecting the locker before he put anything in. So I said, wow, look at this. You don't see this on the younger. I guess now they're beginning to realize that they can get this stuff too. Although most of them don't care if they get it, because they figure they were going to get mild symptoms and all they'll do is pass it on. But hey, there are some of them that are paying attention, which is a good sign anyway. And another vaccine came out, CJ?
Yes, it did.
Did you see that one? 94.5% effective? This is like a contest. Who can have the most effective vaccine now?
Yeah, well, and guess where that vaccine came from? The company name is Moderna. But guess which state Moderna's in?
Massachusetts.
They're in Massachusetts. They're in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So, you know, even Massachusetts is contributing to the hopefully the cure, or at least the vaccination for COVID.
Yeah, we've had that lab around for a long time. I mean, many, many years ago, they came out with some groundbreaking vaccines, and they were doing some testing and some studies on some stuff. So that place has been around for a long time. Cambridge has been Cambridge has always had some facilities up there that did a lot of. I think they even had a government facility up there that did some testing with vaccines and stuff. So, yeah, so it's nice that you know, we're getting these vaccines, but as we talked about on the last show, the only problem with these vaccines is you got to look at the long-term effects. Right now, they might be, you know, short-term side effects, but we don't know what happens in the long term.
Exactly.
And but hey, we got to do what we got to do, right? You've got to try, and we'll see what happens. But the COVID is secondary now, because according to the Spindocrats, the election is over, even though it isn't over. So they get
it's definitely interesting, that's for sure. Hey, just to change topics, a little bit here. I was notified this morning by the obituaries that Clorinda Ventura passed away. She was an elementary school principal for many years in the Florida school system. Her sister, Marina Ventura, was a vice principal at Durfee High School. Clorinda Ventura took over Pine Street School when it was open as a school from Miss Lovett when she retired. And she was my principal my entire time at Pine Street School. It's a long time back, but you know what? It brings back some memories. She was a wonderful principal. She was firm but fair. And I'll tell you now, I couldn't thank her enough for everything she did back then. Maybe if you have memories of Miss Ventura, you can pass them on to your friends or pass them on in Facebook. I posted it in Facebook and people are already reacting. So it's definitely somebody who reached a lot of lives. Our elementary school teachers and principals do reach a lot of lives, and a lot of memories are always very favorable for them. So rest in peace, Miss Ventura, and thank you very much.
Yeah, obviously our condolences go out to her family. And as you said, especially on the elementary levels, the interaction between students and teachers is a lot more intimate, because they're really not. Once you get to high school, you kind of like go to different classes with different teachers, but they have a tremendous impact on young minds, and you have to respect someone who did that for as long as she did. So may she rest in peace. But we talked a little bit about the Spindocrats, and everything seems to be, the thing that fascinates me is Joe and Kamala, or Kamala, or whatever she pronounces it. Well, she pronounces it 3 different ways, so I don't care. You know who I mean. The vice president elect. But they're still hiding in a bunker. Supposedly the election's over and they're still hiding. But again, it's disturbing what's happening in the country. I guess they had 100,000 people demonstrating for Trump in D.C., but they were attacked by Antifa in the evening, and they showed some video of a family running away in fear. They were trying to have dinner somewhere, or they were at the demonstration, and you could see these young children were totally they were scared, and justifiably so. People got sucker punched, somebody got stabbed. This is totally out of control, and I probably not covered on the mainstream media. But this country has become a third world country. I mean, we cannot have these thugs running around, with almost the blessing of these people who claim to be liberals and they're going to save society, who worry more about illegal immigrants than they do about the safety of Americans. Because you have a different opinion, now it's okay to physically assault, stab, murder, shoot people who have a different opinion. That's not what America was founded on. America was founded to get away from this kind of persecution for having a different opinion, and it's really we're really getting out of control. I know Chicago had a horrific weekend again of shootings, and then there was also a video of 3 thugs running up to a guy in his driveway and driving off with his car. 2 of them had regular pistols, and one had it looked like a Glock with an extended magazine. So it looked like a submachine gun rather than a semi-automatic pistol. But They walked up to the guy in the driveway, pointed the gun at him, and just drove away with his car. And his video camera for his property captured the whole incident. It's absolutely the society's absolutely out of control, and the media is directly responsible because they're silent and they are accessories before, during, and after the fact of this kind of carnage that's going on American streets. You know, they were talking about people running away from Guatemala and Central American countries to come to America because it's so dangerous in their cities. Yeah. And the irony of that is we have cities in the United States that are just as dangerous, and they're allowing it to happen. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic that politics has become the only about power. They don't care what they have to do to get power, even allow mayhem in the streets of the United States. It's terrible.
It's what we live with, I'll tell you now. And it makes for an interesting time. As you said, the media has been less than fair and less than accurate in their reportings. It's a very, very biased media, whether it be CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, or even Fox. You know, they're all very biased. They have their position and they promote their positions. But when you're promoting these attacks by activists and, you know, the dangers that these activists are raising, is that responsible journalism? Is that responsible at all? The promotion of attacks just doesn't seem to be right. And as you said, they're accessories after the fact. But again, you know, that's the press and journalism has always been the fourth estate, you know, and they live in their own world. They close the gates and it's our world and this is how we want to do it, like it or not. And it doesn't seem to make any difference if you are for or against them. You're still locked out unless you push yourself through and do things like we do here.
Yeah, you're right. But at one point in time, and for a very, very long time, there was journalistic integrity. But that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, these people are so blatant. I mean, they just it's propaganda. And that's what's really scary about this. We're looking at a propaganda machine that realistically is giving America a false narrative to push a political agenda of their choice. That's what they did in Nazi Germany. That's what they do in Russia with Radio Pravda and the media. That's what they do in China with state-run media. You know, this is what separated America. Journalists had enough integrity to report what happened on both sides.
Right.
You know, and therein lies the problem today. There's no journalistic integrity. I mean, look at what Woodward and Bernstein did. You know, they broke they ended a presidency with their reporting. They had the courage to come out and lay it out for the public and pursue the facts. Yet what do we have here? We have distortions of the narrative on both sides. I mean, Obama's on there talking about what Trump is doing is destroying the democracy. No, what Trump is doing is the democracy. You have a legal right to contest these things. They didn't say that when Gore went to the Supreme Court and spent 37 days and filed a ton of lawsuits. It was his right to do it. And it was.
Right.
And it was. And when Hillary whined and still whining 4 years later about losing the election and it was an illegal election, well, you know, if Trump feels this election is illegal, and by the way, do you notice that the mainstream media, but nobody really notices things like this? They've had to, because they're being shown for how biased they are. They've backtracked At first, they said there's absolutely no proof of any kind of fraud. And then they said, well, yeah, there is some, but it's a very small amount. But it wasn't a small amount. They've shown hundreds and hundreds and thousands of votes and cases in sworn affidavits. Now the media has progressed to where, yes, there was fraud, but not enough to turn the election around. So we went from absolutely nothing, this is all BS perpetrated by the Orange Monster and his crew, to now it's, well, there was very little, now there is a lot, but not enough to turn the election over. So yeah, therein lies the problem. Report the facts, and don't say you're destroying democracy by exercising your legal rights. Because if you're doing that, you're the person that's anti-democracy. You want a totalitarian state that nobody can have a different opinion than you. The fact is that he has every right to do this. And the only people that are really benefiting from this are the political parties and these thug groups like Antifa, who are using this to loot, pillage, steal, murder, and make this country into a banana republic where you can't walk out on the streets in some cities, and that's tragic. That is a travesty.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think that, when the public cannot trust the media any longer, we do become communist Russia, or we do become, Nazi Germany with, the propaganda. And again, people say we're going that way. We're going to a socialistic type of government. And if some House of Representative members, some representatives have their way, we will. And if you got a couple of senators that want the same thing, like Bernie Sanders, they say they want democratic socialism, whatever the hell that is.
That's a contradiction in terms.
Exactly. And what do you do with people who still believe that they have everything going for them to make it happen? Propaganda isn't everything going for you to make it happen. And obviously, when you look at the protests done by the pro-Trump and pro-Biden people that are still going on, I mean, did you see the numbers in Washington, D.C. recently? I mean, there are millions of people, and there are people who are coming out saying, just like they did when Trump won, Biden's not my president. Okay? And as I've said before, I don't care who the person is that's the president. I respect the office of the president. I may not like the person who's president, but I have to respect the office that they hold. And I think that's something that the people of the United States are missing and they're forgetting. You may not like your mayor, you may not like your governor, you may not like your city councilor, but you have to respect the office that they hold. That is the way it is. You may not like it, you can argue with them, you can fight with them, but you've got to at least respect the office they hold because they took the time to do it and the people believed in them to elect them.
You're right, CJ, and well said. But that's the problem. Therein lies the problem, that some of these people are so partisan, they're so delusionary, that they don't care about justice. They don't care about democracy. They only care about getting their way. And therein lies the problem, because the Democrats and the Republicans should be united in determining that every legal vote is canceled and every illegal vote is eliminated, and that we reinstitute confidence in the election system, because we'll never, ever again have an election without problems like this, with people on both sides saying this isn't, they stole the election. This is a time where both sides should come together and be saying, let's not allow these partisan hacks, these secretaries of state and governors and Supreme Courts of states change the rules to fit the election so they can win. We have to have integrity in the elections, and they both should be on the same page, but they're not, because they just want power. And people don't care about democracy anymore. All they care about is gaining power. And as far as socialism is concerned, that's one of the reasons that these people, these spendocrats, want to cancel history. Because, you know, Bernie can call it democratic socialism. Michael Moore can say it's democratic socialism. That's their new buzzword. There's no such thing, because they want to cancel history. Because if we look around the world and look at the history of mankind, we've never had a socialist country that's ever worked. Have we? Name one. Venezuela, Russia, where you got to stand in a supermarket for 2 weeks to get a loaf of bread and whose economy's in the toilet. Every socialist country that there's ever been ended up a crap hole. And the people in power get all the money, and the other people just barely survive.
That's it. Just look at Cuba.
Yep. Look at, I mean, you name them all: Venezuela, Cuba, Russia. You know, all these socialist states end up to be. You see it, but they don't want to hear it. They all live in this dreamland. But hey, you want to shift gears into our $5 million surplus and all the money that, it's not a $5 million surplus, CJ, because remember, she stole $2 million from the healthcare.
Exactly.
Budget 40 million, but they only budgeted 38.
Yeah.
So that's another 2 million they got in the slush fund that they didn't need to steal, by the way. City council, are you listening? They didn't need that money. That 45 million, it was really 40, then became 38. You really didn't need it, did you? I guess the only time she can add positive numbers is after she gets all the other money, by saying we got no money.
Yep. Well, let's look at what's coming up tomorrow in the city council. The mayor has an order appropriating $250,000 from the general fund from fiscal year 20 surplus of revenue, otherwise known as free cash, to the capital projects fund for police vehicles. Here's the issue I have, and I have a major issue with this, if it's possible. The chief sent a letter to the city council saying very clearly, or actually sent it to the mayor. COVID-19 has created significant challenges for the police department. One of those challenges has been the ability to properly distance officers from not only the public, but each other. On some occasions, we are unable to keep officers separated due to the broken down patrol vehicles. These cruisers often have extraordinarily high miles and are in need of costly repairs. This usually occurs within the specialized units. Subsequently, officers are forced to work side by side in the same vehicle for up to 8 hours. I ask that you consider purchasing more patrol vehicles, especially while the COVID-19 pandemic remains. It's vitally important that we keep our first responders safe. Here's the issue I have. We have CARES Act money, somewhere around $7 million, I believe. I don't know how much is left. But with the chief saying that this is COVID related, could they not use the $250,000 out of the CARES Act money to buy these vehicles? I'm not sure. But isn't that something that we should research before we decide to start spending our own money? Because remember, that money expires on December 31st. And the mayor keeps saying, well, when Biden takes office, maybe he'll release some of the restrictions on it. The money won't be there when Biden takes office. That's January 20th. The money expires on December 31st. It's time to spend it before it's gone. Yeah, so maybe the mayor should consider taking that money out of the CARES Act funds, if it's a possibility. So I would ask that he look at that before he decides to remove this from the budget.
Well, very, very good point, CJ. Well, too good, actually. It makes sense, because then he'll never do it. But you know as well as I do what the real reason is. They already got that money spent in the CARES Act. They already know where they want, what hole they want to stuff in their budget with the CARES Act money. That's already been committed. I can guarantee you they got a spreadsheet somewhere in Government Center where all that money's going to go. If they got their wish list prepared and police vehicles. But while we're on police vehicles and fire vehicles, how many times have we heard the same thing? The equipment's got tons of mileage on it. It's breaking down all the time. How many times has the city council and mayors been told, and they actually said it, that they were going to establish purchasing vehicles on a rotating basis to maintain a viable fleet? I can tell you how long ago it was on the fire department. When I was the president of the union and I took over in 1981, I was complaining about replacing apparatus on a rotational basis and not having an entire fleet have to be replaced.
Oh, you mean like we just did?
But that's the way we do things in Fall River. No matter how many times you tell them how to do it right, they love to govern by crisis, just like everything that goes before the council. If you don't vote for this, even though it's wrong and it's a waste and we're doing it the wrong way, we have to do it. Otherwise, the city will fall apart. And here we are again. How many times have we had to buy police cruisers at the 11th hour? How many times have we talked about, how many times have they talked about having a separate fund with money put into it every year to maintain the streets in the city of Fall River? I don't know, 100, 150 times? How many times have we heard about, maybe more. How many times have we heard about replacing apparatus on a rotation? I even gave them a plan to do it. Police vehicles on a rotation. But no, here we are again. So again, remember, not this November, because it's gone. Next November, there will be people running for these offices. Hold their feet to the fire. We've got to stop this madness, at least on a local level. We may not be able to stop it on a state and national level, but we can begin in Fall River by stopping the madness here, by only electing city councilors and mayors who are going to do things in the best interest of the taxpayer.
I agree. Well, guess what tomorrow is also going to happen? The tax factor is going to be decided.
Oh, and here we go. The dog and pony show.
That's right.
But we need less tax factors for our businesses, even though there's no business. The Fall River and government in general, but Fall River especially as a microcosm, is the true definition of insanity. We keep doing things the same way every single time and expect a different outcome.
And as I said in the Weekend Flush, it's too expensive for these businesses to leave Fall River. So they're not going anywhere. They're staying right here and they're going to work it. They're going to work it out regardless of what the tax factor is. But isn't it time that the residential taxpayer get a break? I think it's time that we get a break. They've been gouging us so much that it's time for us to get a break. There it is. So
that's it. You're right, CJ. But does the residential taxpayer ever get a break? No,
we don't.
But the businessmen get TIFs. They get lowered tax factors, and they whine all the way to the bank. So
That's right. Well, it looks like we're out of time. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks for tuning in and letting us into your home. Remember, keep your politicians' feet to the fire. Watch that city council meeting tomorrow and see how badly we get screwed. Stay safe and stay angry.
And by all means, stay healthy. Remember, we are in a super red zone.
That's right. Thanks for watching.